Okay.
Now.
So thank you so much for the nice introduction, and also I'm really glad to be here in Weingarten University, and I thank Professor Ertel and also Professor Kragler for all the nice arrangements for my trip in here. And so before going to my main topic, just a few words. So Rovaniemi is a city on the Arctic Circle in northern Finland, and just a few days before we left for this trip, there were nice northern lights. This is actually our house, so it's yeah. So that was a nice storm on 17th of March.
How often do you have such really nice
yeah, maybe something like 10 times during this winter.
Okay.
So, but if you go a little bit to the north further, then it's much more frequent.
So how high is the probability when I do a 2-week trip to your area?
If you are in Rovaniemi, I would say maybe, well, if it's near equinox, the 21st of March or 21st of September, plus minus 10 days, something like that, then the chances are higher. But in Rovaniemi, maybe 10–15%, and not very high. But if you go to the further to the north, for example, in Kilpisjärvi in Finland, I think it's 75%. Something like that. Okay. Okay, and so maybe we go, in the interest of time, to our main topic. We can also discuss about our University of Applied Sciences later if it's of interest. I hope maybe some of you will come to work on some projects or later at our university. Okay, so my topic is this Abelian square avoidance in words, and also distributed computing. This distributed computing is something we really need a lot in finding these structures. I'll just mention why we need it, and not so much speaking about those how to say, technical details on them. But I'm happy Professor Kragler gave me some files for this parallel computing. So we will discuss that later, and I will be learning those things. This is quite a long project together with our students, starting from the year 90 already, and almost 40 students have been working on this topic by doing computer programs, or maybe translating my Mathematica codes, or I originally started by using Lisp, this research, into C or maybe Python codes, and they have been distributing the computations. There is also some FPGA application, and definitely distributed computing with the grid. And also this CSC means Center of Scientific Computing in Finland, so that we are using supercomputers as well. These people have now started that part. Takeshi Nakahara, he is actually, he was an exchange student last autumn, and he will continue that work in Japan now. So words are kind of basic objects in theoretical computer science, and it's therefore very natural to study their structures. For a word, you can just think a string of letters, like also if you think about DNA or RNA, that is just fine for us to kind of visualize in our mind these structures. We will speak a little bit about background and the history of this investigation, and visualize different structures also we have found, and we can discuss some symbolic computations by using Mathematica, and these visualizations here are really done by using Mathematica. I need to press in here. In the search for favorable structures, we have found really enormous fluctuations in computation time. So when we given a kind of input which we wish to study, whether it's basically good or bad, sometimes the computation is done in less than a millisecond, but sometimes the same, exactly same looking word can take several months even. We will describe our quite recent new finding on this field. Actually, okay, we will speak about it later, but it took 17 years of work to find it. So there are rare structures in here. Okay, let's speak about that symbolic computations a little bit later. Some of the applications we can also describe in more detail. All the results we have found so far, they lie in number theory and algorithmic music. People have composed music to these strings, but also Ron Rivers used these four-letter strings in cryptography. So it's to prevent against certain attacks when one uses iterated hash functions. And also it's connected to bioinformatics. Especially nowadays there is a study of partial words that basically contains holes, and this motivation really comes from gene comparison. It's kind of a maybe nice thing that this research they use our results basically all the time as a starting point, so that it's one new direction of the applications. And also there is a suggestion by Professor Dasgupta from Columbia University to use these structures in generation and simulation of extreme events. He has proposed a so-called live design concept, which is a concept for computational intelligence for security and emergency management. That would be a topic, a different topic on its own, but this is what we are planning at the moment. Okay, this is short history, and okay, very short. The combinatorics on words was started by Norwegian mathematician Axel Thue over 100 years ago, and he wrote his papers in German language. There are 3 or even more, but three basic, quite long papers from that time. We will discuss some of his findings. And then about this Abelian pattern avoidance, it was asked by Paul Erdős in 1961 paper, and one of the problems we could solve, it was open for over 30 years. These structures can be also used to model biological growth in so-called L systems. And it was Aristide Lindemeyer who started that research. Okay, maybe I can explain why I mentioned these people in this context. Just a very short history about computation. So David Hilbert asked how he had how to say like a program that one should also prove that the axioms of arithmetic are consistent, which actually led Kurt Gödel to find that if you have a constant axiomatic system, then you have incompleteness in that system in a sense that there are true sentences which cannot be proved within the system. Then Alan Turing went on to use these ideas by Kurt Gödel, and find out well, Turing, we now call it Turing machine, and especially the universal Turing machine is the model of computation and the computer. And so basically you can say that there was something kind of aim to prove that okay, arithmetic is consistent, and everything which is true can be proved. And this project failed, and as a spin-off we got this billion-trillion euro business of IT. And also Gregory Saitin has studied a lot of this randomness in pure math. He kind of continues the work of Gödel, and the same thing is discussed by Stephen Wolfram in his NKS, New Kind of Science book. And so that they basically suggest kind of new branch like experimental mathematics. And in our case, we are somewhere, some problems could be on that area, so that maybe there is no pattern. It's maybe a random thing. And some we have found the structure and could prove it in traditional way. The new problems, nobody knows where they actually lie. Will they be solved? Of course, we as mathematicians, we would be glad to find the proof. It is like an essence of mathematics. But it's not clear that such a thing exists. Okay, this is just, I'm not going into technical details so much, but we speak about alphabet, which is just a finite set, ABC. Usually we have only 3 ABC or ABCD, and that's it, basically. And we concatenate those letters and we get words, and usually for us words are of finite length, but they can be also infinite words, so-called omega words, which extend to infinity. For us they extend from left to right. And the only binary operation we have is just a concatenation of words. Just put them together. And very simple binary operation. We speak about factors. For example, this BAA is a factor in this longer word inside. So it must be the consecutive characters in there. Then moving on, a kth power of some word, U, just a string. If it occurs k times in succession, it's a kth power. Here is an example of oh boy. So this is a word that's being repeated twice. So this is a square. If we repeat it 3 times, then we have a cube. Okay. These are ordinary kind of repetitions. And this is known at the moment, these ordinary repetitions, and if we can avoid those factors, those kind of patterns completely in infinite strings. That's known that, if you start with one letter alphabet, that's very trivial. We just repeat A. It's totally boring. And we cannot avoid any kind of repetitions. They are unavoidable. They will occur. Over binary alphabet, it happens that cubes, triple repetitions can be avoided already over two-letter alphabet. In three-letter alphabet case, you can avoid also squares. Yes?
I didn't understand the problem. I mean, what does it mean to avoid such powers? Are you talking about certain types of grammar that produce a language, or?
Yes, I'll come to that to explain that part. But so basically, we would like to avoid these kind of repetitions completely in the strings, so that that kind of pattern should not occur at all.
Where do these strings come from?
I'll come to that. Yeah, yes, I'll explain. Yeah. And okay, yeah. So these are like basic concepts. Then we would need to speak about a Parik vector, which is if we define the alphabet, 3 letters here, and this is a word over a 3-letter alphabet, and in this case we have 4 A's, 5 B's, and 1 C. So we are not interested actually in the order of letters, but just how many times they occur. And here we can now define an Abelian gate power. It's that kind of repetition for words, composed of words U, U1, U2, and so on, for which all these words have the same Parik vector, or you could say they are anagrams of each other. An anagram is maybe a usual word for this. And so, for example, here we have then an Abelian square or anagram repetition. They are not exactly the same words, but this black word is the same as this in Abelian sense. This one is the anagram of this, and vice versa. They're just anagrams. This and that.
I mean,
okay, please.
That's kind of weird. I've never seen this. So now the D is the mirror image of the B.
No. It's anagram just means that you have a word and you rearrange those the letters. You have a word and with the letters. You use the same amount. You don't take any off out, but just rearrange. Just to rearrange. Okay. And it was asked by Paul Erdős quite a long time ago, over 50 years ago, that can one avoid gate powers as factors in infinitely long words? Can you continue forever, basically, without creating those kind of repetitions? And at that time, it was not known whether you can avoid them at all, or if you speak about squares, for example, what kind of alphabet you will need. There was a Russian mathematician showing that you can actually avoid if you have 25 letters. That was then reduced up to 5 letters later by Pleasance 69. And it took, the 4-letter case remained open for very long. The 3-letter case is actually trivial. You will see that you can't continue only up to the word length of 7. And after that, you will have these patterns for squares so that they are unavoidable. And in this Abelian square or anagram repetition case, the situation looks like this. It was showed by Decking already in '79 that if you speak about four times repetitions, the gate fourth repetitions, they can be avoided over a binary alphabet, A, B, or 0, 1. And you can avoid cubes, Abelian cubes, this kind of repetitions, over a 3-letter alphabet. But it was not until '92 that we could show that this is the case also in 4-letter case. You can avoid Abelian squares completely. In Decking's case, we can start to see this mechanism, how to produce these infinite words. So he mapped A to A, B, B, B to A, B. Okay. In this case, this is just over the binary alphabet. This is so-called endomorphism. And one iterates it, and he could prove it will avoid those Abelian 4 repetitions. Maybe we can look here at the idea of using this to iterate an endomorphism. Here we map a letter A to AB, and B goes to BA. Just these two simple productions. We start from A, it gets AB. Okay, once again A gives AB and B BA. So we use these strings in a parallel way, and only one letter is being mapped with a new image word. If you look at here, always the prefix, the previous word is a prefix of the next one. And this really starts to grow from left to right. When we continue the iteration, as a limit we get an infinite word. And actually Tue could show that this avoids ordinary triple repetitions. Or actually, he could show that it avoids overlapping factors. So there are squares, but no overlapping factors. And these overlapping factors, we mean just ordinary. This is not the Abelian case, but the idea of generating those words, we can see. It's a very kind of simple one. Okay, if I go still back in here, so I will show our solution to this 4-letter case later, but actually the shortest possible word is, image word is pretty long. It's of length 85 letters, and it was regarded as impossible to find in practice. It starts to be too long, but we found it.
Excuse me, may I ask my question?
Okay, please.
Now, what is the problem? Is it the question? Is there a set of production rules that avoids such Abelian squares?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
also, this is because how to say, almost all the constructions are based on iterating an endomorphism. So that, of course, you may be able to invent some new ideas or methods for producing these, but there are some examples for ordinary repetitions where you can do it. Even the Tower of Hanoi is one of those. You can do it in a different way. But for Abelian square avoidance, no other methods are known. We don't know. Yeah. So maybe, and so hopefully one will find those. And anyway, here are some examples. These are just from ordinary language, just to make it maybe a little bit amusing. Well, this is a Finnish language, so this permutation repetition in Finnish, it's permutaatiotoisto. Well, anagram repetition and the Abelian square thing is basically the same. But so there are these Abelian squares inside as factors. So these words themselves are not Abelian square free. And okay, this is this means something in Finnish, but I don't wish to go to use much time in here. This is the ordinary repetitions. I can say this: ota valta, 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 valtiolta. It means take a power from enormous superpower. But there is this kind of a repetition in that. And yeah, this part is nice, but it's maybe too long in here. It's based on these anagram repetitions. With Mathematica, you can transform these Abelian, Parik vectors into just use lists and change the head of the list as times, then you get a product. And actually, this is a Parik vector. Well, the structure is exactly like that. And there are several ways to do this kind of Parik vectors in Mathematica, just in symbolic way. And okay, this is in Chinese, almost 100 words repeating. Yeah, there are of course these four different tones, but this is really a story, and it basically uses exactly the same word over and over again. I think maybe, can you speak Chinese? Read. Yeah.
It looks funny.
Yeah, this is being videotaped, so I don't make an attempt to say this. But yeah, but it's really so. In Japanese, okay, this is quite easy. This mo part appears just 8 times. So it really means it's a meaningful sentence in Japanese. Okay, you can read it from here. If you have something similar in German language, I would be interested to hear, or if you can find something, that would be nice.
A word where there is a part that's repeated 8 times?
Whatever time. So in this Japanese, it's 8 times. In my Finnish example, it's only 5. Yeah, okay. But these are like funny examples, and we wish to avoid those cases. These are bad examples, but examples anyway. This production by using these letters can be used. Actually, this is the historical thing. Actually, it was this endomorphism is, of course, they spoke in a different context, and Prof didn't study this pattern avoidance at all, but it's already from 1851, a very nice mathematical paper. Then after Thue invented the properties of the strings, it has been, how to say, invented over and over again with many different people. And actually, if you model these, it's like one letter is going to grow with many other letters. You can easily model these as how to say, they are like plants growing, branching. And this has developed in a state of art, so that put the graphics inside them. And actually it's used in biological studies nowadays. So maybe you know about this Stephen Wolfram's rule 110, which is cellular automata machines. I just so one kind of cell looks its neighbors and its own state. So we have to the power 8 different combinations for the center cell, how the state changes, and then we start to from one string we go to the next and repeat that. So basically all these in the cellular automata machines, all these rows are strings, and they are words in this sense. And this particular case is very interesting. After a while, you can see that even you start with one dot and repeat it, signals starts to move there. Okay, here that structure continues without any how to say effect of this signal. These are just remember they are just strings or words. But here the collision really produces something else, and it has been proved by Matthew Cook that this is it's capable of universal computation. So it's equivalent of universal Turing machine, the computation. And yeah, this is a topic which we don't go into details, but just worth to mention, so that these words are also in this process. Okay, here we have a 3-letter case, and this is a very simple production, and this how to say, when we iterate it, we get an infinitely long word over a 3-letter alphabet which doesn't contain any squares. But now we are speaking about the ordinary squares, not the avoidance of Abelian squares. And finally, this is what we found after long computer experiments. So if we say that A goes to this, then take the cyclic permutation, so that A goes to B, B goes to C, C goes to D, D goes to A. For letter A are B, C, and D. Then we could prove this has the desired properties. It avoids Abelian squares over 4 letters when iterated. At that time, the computation, we were running computers, I think they were 286 machines, maybe something 20 of them. We ran them maybe 5 weeks and found, okay, 2 examples. The other one didn't work. Its length was 83, and this is the only one which basically got found.
What did you do with these machines? You just produced a tremendously long string, and you were looking for the Abelian square?
Yeah, basically yes, but if you that is very easy to do with a computer, and you will be running forever. Yeah. And yeah, it will never give. But I could. So basically, what I did, I studied like because this structure of the image word of A is enough, because the structure in the others is just known after it. So I took suffixes and prefixes, and so that they would fit together, and found out that the number of those relatively long suffixes and prefixes which fit together is not that high. So I just used few hundreds of them. Of course, nowadays you can have million or trillion, that doesn't matter. But at that time, it was, that development took several months. And then after I just tried to find the infix part. okay, if you have it well, then you need to study whether it satisfies, if it preserves the Abelian square freeness of short words of length 2, of all combinations of 3 and 4. And then we found only two examples going satisfying of length 4. Those were then the candidates which we need to investigate. I can describe what the process is, but that's more technical. Then how we can really prove that of the desired type. Okay, this is how it looks as when one visualizes it, and this is basically when you iterate it's like a self-reading sequence. The first round is the image of A, the next one is for B, C, and so on, and the next one is for B and C and D, and it actually starts to read itself. That's what it does. And some other visualizations and some peculiar, some curious things inside those strings, which we don't know why. There are cyclic permutations inside. Maybe just a coincidence in here. One can try to understand their structure by taking some letters away and looking at what it looks like as a whole. We can say that this, of course, we are studying a four-letter case, so it's natural to ask questions for, in case of DNA or RNA, and actually these kind of repetitions are, in a sense, important in this bioinformatics, because if you have repetitions, it means that the DNA string will not actually be forming that double helix, but it loops back to itself. And it's known that because of this, there are some, maybe some 30 different diseases are known to happen because of this. And this was in Nature, 2007. I think I had this, or I heard this during the same trip I was visiting Weingarten, 2007. Yes. One can visualize these strings. Sometimes some of these visualizations have been kind of important and cute. You can take the directions for A, B, C, and D, for example, like this, and then a string is a walk in. It's basically a diamond grid because these are diamond bonds, and then you can find loops, and if you find loops, it means that there are equally many A's, B's, and C's. And maybe this kind of thing could be used for studying DNA or RNA, because there are many things you can maybe, these are of course interactive, what we have been doing, just still images, but many things come like as a surprise, and you just study and look at them, because if you have a string, you basically, some things you can find which you would not even think otherwise. Here we look from the direction of a D letter. I just rotated it that way, and there is a nice kind of pseudo mirror image inside there. Some of the visual representations, we could mention the quad tree. Do you know the quad tree representation? Or it's like for data structures. It's being used as a data structures, but you can also think like photographs to be represented in this way. So suppose we have a black and white photograph. Okay, I have used colors. I usually use these for letters. Maybe it's not a good idea. These colors don't mean much in here. But let's take a square, and we divide it. If we divide, it means we divide it twice. So we have 4 new smaller squares. So let's say this is A, B, C, and D. It's like saying that this direction is A, B, C, and D. Now let's make it, okay, this is of a word of length 1. If we have length 2, so suppose, for example, this yellow square, it is because firstly we went to A and then to C. So this represents the word AC. And if you continue this way, here are all Abelian square free words of length 8 over 4 letters. And you can visualize them directly. But you can do it also the other way around. You have a photograph. And of course, if you make the division 10 times, you already have roughly 1,000 times 1,000 pixels. If you make it 12 times, it's usually more than enough. And then you pick up those dots which are black. And what you get, you get a list of 4-letter words or strings, that kind of set, which represents that image. And of course, also the packing is quite easy because maybe the end suffix is just changing, and sometimes it can be a nice way to also pack photos and represent them. In Mathematica, you can then start zooming to certain parts. Zooming here means that you extend those words and see if they can be continued. And sometimes when you continue them for long, the space really gets sparser and sparser. They basically look good, but they cannot be extended. And we will, okay, this is the same area with short words for longer words. Just some parts really kind of disappear totally. The space comes very sparse. Okay, this is G85, that morphism which we found, put in a DNA form, and it really loops back. And I have tried to investigate with Wolfram Alpha, which searches to this human genome database. This G85 definitely does not exist in there. But, for example, this is useful in three-letter case where we allow just one letter to be repeated, but no other Abelian squares. So this is free in that sense. But this Wolfram Alpha finds it in a matter of few seconds that it's in this chromosome 7 and chromosome 8. And with Mathematica 9, at maybe 8 and 9, you can do this. You don't need to leave the Mathematica, you just ask. It goes directly to Wolfram Alpha, and you get the result back to your notebook. Okay, we spoke about these quadri representations and the space becoming sparser. And because we were maybe we were running on trying to find new candidates, new structures in four-letter case without being able to find. So it was so surprising. We found something in quite early stage, and then nothing. Okay, we didn't. It took 17 years before we found a new thing. And meanwhile, I started to wonder what's going on in here. You see, if we even wish to compute the number of these words, we have no mathematical ideas. It's just we need to produce them inside the computer. At least the current knowledge is like that. But because many times it seemed that we are almost successful, but at the end the structures always collapsed. So I was studying those things in such a way that I take, let's say, words of length, say 24, all of them. Okay, forget the permutations, I mean renaming the words and maybe the mirror images. But basically all of them, and take one word at a time, and then I extend it to the right, to the left, to the right and left. Now I use just one letter extensions, not more. But I study how long I can continue with all the possible ways. So that, suppose this is the original word, and I go here. There are two options. With C program, we usually go and exchange the word one letter by letter so that we don't need much memory. But with Mathematica, we try all the combinations and extend to certain given boundaries, that they are of equal length on both sides. And what happens? Firstly, I thought this is a mistake in the program, but no, this is very typical. And actually kind of explains why it has been so hard to find these structures. So we start from this word. Its length is okay, never mind, it has some length. We extend it to the right with all possible ways. Right means it's with blue. And if we are extending all the possible ways to the left, we have a bi-directional tree in here growing. And so here are the numbers, how many ways we can extend. And the number is not that great. Maybe it's 100,000 words in here. But the funny thing is, so sometimes these grow exponentially, explode the memory, and we can't continue. But here, this happens to at least 60% of the cases. So they grow and then they die in one step. It seems to be growing very, very well, and it dies, the whole huge structure. And this seems to be the situation. I have very, very many of these images. It seems pretty random, and they look different. This one is especially cute. It goes nearly to 12 million, and then it dies at something 8 million words still. One would think that there must be many, many ways to extend it the next step. No, it dies, the whole structure. This is in logarithmic scale the same thing. Okay, maybe I had the logarithmic case in some of these are normal and some are just logarithmic cases. And okay, and this is the so we found why it was so kind of difficult to find these structures, and when we could understand it a little bit more, then what happened, we found the structure we were looking at. These were distributed. There was a Vietnamese student at that time working at our institute, and he distributed these computations, and we found 12 words which have the same structure for just for the letter A, except that there's one exception. Here there is D letter that's changing, and also C in here is changing. If this works, I can maybe so that you can change the position of D and the C letter. And you get 12 different image words for one letter A, the same for B, C, and D. Okay, then starts the job. How do you prove that this, when you iterate in a sense that you have 12 options for each letter, that it preserves Abelian square freeness. And we could do that. And the other image words are just by cyclic permutation of those that we saw. And when we started to prove this, at that time one test, we can, here is basically the mathematics, what we need to do, and here is a visualization. We need to study all the possible prefixes and suffixes, and then look at the Berg vectors when for these certain pairs, whether they will match or not. And for one case, it took at that time maybe 1 hour of computation time to check, but altogether we had that many cases. So if once again you do a rough calculation, you need that many hours, which is too much. But we could then narrow it down to those particular cases inside the strings, and we could reduce this number to 1 hour with Mathematica. And then I use also symbolic ways to study the proofs, which I never published, but I checked it in completely different way, which is very nice to do with Mathematica, and I'm really glad that I could try it out. One important thing I wish to emphasize here. So people were trying to design this kind of changes in those strings. There is one exception. Arturo Carpi used our string 85, iterated it 3 times. The word is of length, then one letter has the image word of length, maybe it's 100 million or something. Then he could take one letter away from there or put it back. That's the only case where kind of engineering has been possible. But in our case, we have found much better. This is relatively short, and we have lots of these image words. And this gives a lower bound for the nice lower bound for exponential growth of these words. And yeah, what I'm saying that these mutations, they just occurred in the computation, and no design was successful, and just it's like an accident in a sense. We don't go to technical details in this case, but what happened at the end? We found 200 new examples. There are Berg vectors, and when we found these new examples after 17 years of work, and then bang. And so I was just rotating these strings like this, and noted that one letter is just traveling. And it really needs to be this way. The Berg vectors need to be the same for all of this. So it has to be something like that. And yes, finally that worked out. This is available on this theoretical computer science paper, and also that it's easy to find from the web as well. So powerful Abelian square free substitution. And of course I can send you a PDF for educational and research purposes there. It's allowed, yes. Here are the numbers of words we know up to word of length 60. They grow quite quickly, those Abelian square free words. It seems that, well, yeah, we know that the growth is exponential. But then if we change the problem a little bit and start to speak about 3 letters where we allow 1 letter repetition, so XX or XX, AA, and for B and C, then we have counted them all up to length 70, but it's an open problem. What happens? In Canada, they found an example of over 3,000 characters, the length, but it is not known. And we can discuss a little bit some ideas. The problem here is we can't iterate a morphism, because we already have repetitions. If we substitute them by similar words, there will be just a longer repetition. And I'm sorry, I will look if maybe in here I say I have also tried to use this because we have good examples of 4-letter cases. So suppose we take 1 letter away, the D letter. So we have A, B, C. And here I have replaced the D just by a dot. Okay, because the word length is the same for all these Abelian squares, actually 3-component vector is enough. So in this case, this word, if we just leave these holes here, is an Abelian square free word over a 3-letter alphabet. But these D letters or spaces or points, they are just placeholders. What we should be able to fill them with A, B, and C, with some of them. And because the underlying structure is good, so one thinks, it seems to be natural to think that we can use this kind of approach in there, but it doesn't work. It just, I have tried, I can show some simple computations what we have been using, and it doesn't work. Another case is we substitute this original 4-letter string with AAA, BBB, so 3 times. And this works still. It's fine. Now we have more options to put A, B, and C in here. But no, it doesn't work. So if you have some new ideas to work with this, it would be really nice. But yeah, maybe some. It's like an embarrassing thing that it changed the problem a little bit and no idea. Okay, this is what Ron Rivest used in this cryptography. He used suggested iterated hashing with tethering. So hashing is used for saving, for example, passwords in the computer. And people have found, how to say, it's like some kind of attack concerning pre-words, so that you have 2 words which give the same hash value back. So if this is used for a message, maybe another message, yeah, it's known that the space is well, it's huge but limited. But they found out that making loops can give the same hash value for the message. So here is some message blocks in some binary form maybe, and we have the initial input for this function, and then a new function, and the message block is there, and we finally get that has value for what is the length now used, maybe 512 bits or something, but anyway.
What are the Ds in this?
Yeah, these he suggested are exactly from G85. Those A, B, C, and Ds. You put in the protocol them in there. Now, if you make a loop in the message, you try to change the message in such a way, in a clever way. It doesn't work because these are square free. So no matter what, when you dither this input concerning the message and the string together, kind of the dithering is like you place them somewhere in between, or in the message, or in like as an input here. So then you can avoid these kind of attacks. So this was.
So is using your sequence as the Ds?
Yes. Yes.
Is this better than, for example, using perfectly random bits?
At least you can avoid these loops, because these loops, like repetitions, were the tools to introduce by which you can break, you can at least destroy the original message, or make it very bad looking, if it's something like the document. So though it's a cure against the loops.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So maybe I didn't really understand what you mean with loops here.
Yeah, I mean, when there is a message, just a string.
Yes.
Yeah, and you put.
Such an iterated hash function.
Yeah, but there are kind of loops. You put something. It's basically that kind of word in the alphabet of message.
So is a loop if a certain age, whatever 15 is the same as age 0, or what does that mean?
You basically, yes, because but they put in the message in some way, some repetition. They found a way to which kind of give the identity function in this system, and yeah, in this case you can think that it comes the same. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, correct. Okay. Actually, but how much time?
We don't have much time left.
Okay. Maybe I leave this for students. I would like to say some words, just a few.
So this is the exercise for you.
Okay, this is the exercise for you. Okay. Suppose you take some alphabet, 4 letters, 5 letters, and now you would like to avoid those factors which contain an even number of each letter. Just to avoid those. Can you do that? And I will not show this anymore, but this is actually what Ron Rivers asked me. And I could send him there is answer back in the right away. But what is the answer? And okay, we leave that as an open. Yeah, we have then make visualization. There are interactive visualization of these strings to study, and this we discussed. And then I have also tried to, actually what I am aiming is something similar like Stephen Wolfram discusses in NKS book. So I would like to find a pattern so that basically the numbers which come out for its length looks more or less random, so that it cannot decide whether to die the whole thing or not to grow exponentially, but something in between. Something like that is actually known for overlapping factors in binary alphabet. Something very similar. Okay, so I have here just allowed only XX, but not XX, so not 3 times. The number of words grow like this and then they die. And I have tried different, just to modify the problem. And I thought that if I don't allow kind of double repetitions, but I still allow this triple repetition for one letter, nothing else, that my intuition was that it doesn't work. But at the moment I have no idea. It looks to be growing very fast in any way. And the numbers, if you look for some particular case, if you extend it, once again they look like this. So there's this kind of randomness. These examples die, but those boring examples, they grow exponentially, and we need to just give up. Okay, I'll say this very shortly, and then we stop. We have made used a symbolic computation in Mathematica in such a way that we put in between variables. These capital letters are variables. Then we take all the possible factors, which could be Abelian square, and basically so Abelian square is factor, let's say u, u, and v. If I take the paric vectors of these, I subtract from this v vector this vector. If that is 0, then this is an Abelian square. And I do all these differences for all possible factors, of course, of the same length. And just multiply them. Now we have this kind of polynomial. But in Mathematica, if it's 0, we know that there is an Abelian square somewhere. And this is very quick to try out. And this way we can not only to check whether it's possible, but we can also produce these Abelian square free words of any length quite easily. This is basically totally different approach. But we can use this factoring thing in such a way that we have sets of words, and basically we multiply them together. Of course, these polynomials become long, but usually it's working pretty fast. Sometimes very, very fast, and it really needs this symbolic computation. And here, what we actually wish to do, we wish to find these kind of image words for letters, study for short words, whether this is possible or not. So basically, I don't expect results from these short experiments. We need the longer then. But we should also study some short combinations to be sure that there is nothing inside. Maybe there is something hiding, and we otherwise overlook it as whole. Yeah, but okay, I don't go too much details in here anymore. And I think we have discussed most of them. Okay, this one you can think, but I'm not trying to give this as a homework. If we replace the letters by numbers, just integers, and then add these numbers together in u and v, can we avoid these kind of additional squares? Something along the way is known. For example, over a 4-letter case, you can avoid additional cubes in a very simple way. This is very, very simple, and it's you can use these eigenvalues, and so these people, they're able to prove that this really works. But it seems one needs to have a non-uniform morphism, so that the image words would not, if they are of the same length, it may not work. If you have some knowledge of linear algebra in here, what kind of properties we should have for these vectors in order to have certain kind of these eigenvalues. I'm not an expert on this, but I guess there are people who are expert on this. That would be nice to hear. Okay, that approach would be, then we could maybe construct this like frequency matrix first, so that we know the numbers of letters there, but then to find that kind of morphism, which, by the way, needs to be Abelian square free, otherwise it doesn't work. It's probably a really hard problem, most likely. In these cases where we have placed the question marks. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.